Annie, once again, huge congratulations on having passed the exam.
Thank you very much, Irene. I don't think I can pass the exam without your assistance, especially
That's
the interview skills. Yeah.
so kind of you to say that. Yes. So, what now? How has it changed maybe your life? What are you planning to do now? What are your plans for the nearest future?
Yeah, actually, I am a senior partner of big law firm in China, and I have a lot of clients that they are doing like cross-border transaction. So I think after pass the exam and qualified as the solicitor, I can help them to do the transactions better, and maybe I can like have a more big client base.
So, in this firm where you are working, is it a common thing for the partners to be qualified as solicitors of England and Wales, or are you in the minority?
Absolutely the minority. The newest data is that there are like 700,000 lawyers in China, but we have like a group chat on WeChat, and all the members in that group chat is lawyers who qualified both in China and in England and Wales. But we only have like 106 members in the group chat.
Really, just 106?
So we're absolutely the minority, I think.
Right. So you're an exception, which shows that your knowledge is exceptional and maybe your fighting spirit is exceptional also. And of course, your experience of, working in a different jurisdiction. But why do you think there's such a vast difference between these two figures? Do you think that the system of qualifying in the UK is so different from the system of qualifying in China?
I think the legal systems are fundamentally different in England and in China, and the education is different in England and in China. Yeah, I got my bachelor degree in China and my master degree in Australia. So I have some like English legal system education, I think. But when I was preparing for the assessment, it was so different and so difficult because I have a full-time job and the knowledge in Chinese law and in UK law are just fighting in my head. So you need to forget this for some time and remember that in sometimes. So it's really different and it's really struggling for like Chinese lawyers to prepare for the assessment, I think.
All right. So I can understand
Yeah.
that there's two difficulties that you, or two major difficulties that you were facing when preparing. First, a different jurisdiction and
Yeah.
different knowledge, right, and different experience. Okay, but also there were differences in practice and in exam requirements.
It was totally the different because we have like similar like Chinese bar assessment, Chinese lawyers assessment, but it was 2 days assessment and it was only the paperwork. So you
Mhm.
do the multiple choices and you do the like essays or answer some questions. It was 2 days. But for the SQE, it was 5 days for the SQE2 and 2 days for the SQE1. So it was so different. Yeah.
That's true. Let's not forget about the SQE1.
Yeah, because I
Yes.
did MCT.
Yes, so you qualified,
Yeah,
you started qualifying through the QLTS
yeah,
route, right? And then you
yeah.
switched. And you were in the
Yeah.
last cohort of candidates who were allowed to make the transition. Annie, what do you think? Was it an extra pressure that you felt you have to do it now?
I think so because it was the last chance. I started to prepare for the MCT in 2019, and then it was 2020, and the COVID-19 came. So we cannot go abroad for like 3 years. And then it was 2023. So it was my last chance. If I fail this time, so I may never attempt to take the SQE1 from the start.
All right. So I understand that in order to pick up new knowledge, you made a master's degree in Australia, but
Yeah.
also you revised using books, law books for the SQE2, right? And how did you prepare for the practical aspect of the assessment? How did you learn the exam methodology? How did you learn this practical component? What helped you in this preparation?
From a candidate's perspective, I think there are two like parts in SQE2. One is the law, and the other is the skills. And for the law, you need to read the books once again, and then the notes you send us, Olga sent us, is really helpful because you cannot remember all the things in the books, but once the knowledge was in your head, and when you are reading the notes, the knowledge just came. It was really helpful, and it helped me to like remember the knowledge.
Because the notes that you're talking about are actually summaries, right? Brief summaries,
Yeah.
visualized and very easy to remember using mnemonic memories, etc.
But it was tough to read the books. It's thick, and there are a lot of knowledge in the book. But I think you have to push yourself to read the books. So because the law is really fundamental.
Right, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
advise any preparing for the SQE2 only using the notes, only using summary books. It's not something that you did.
No, I don't. I think it's not enough. I add a lot of my notes on the notes you send us.
And that's
But
exactly what we advise. Yes, that taking
yeah,
ready-made notes is not going to work if you do not
no,
invest your own effort. Okay, and also I
so,
can see that you were very intent on doing as many mocks as you could with us. I remember you doing written mocks and oral mocks, interviews,
yeah,
advocacies, legal
yeah,
drafting, writing, research, everything, attendance
yeah,
notes, right? Did you find
yeah, yeah.
those helpful? How important was that in your preparation?
I think it's really, really, really helpful, and I would recommend every candidate to book the mocks as many as possible because, like for especially for the interview, I remember that my first and my second mock was horrible. One is with Roman, and another is with you. As a Chinese lawyer and a Chinese candidate, we do not have this kind of exercise to prepare for any legal assessment or exam. And we don't know how to interview a client, especially when you only have like 30 minutes. And
25, right? When you're so limited
yeah,
in time, exactly.
yeah. And if you are familiar with the topic, you're lucky. But I think I remember that the property interview was just a disaster because it was not something anyone expected. And the lady was just sitting in front of me. I don't know how I can talk to her because I do not have any knowledge of that topic. And the only knowledge I have was in the email the partner sent us. And at that time, I think all the skills I have learned from the mock just worked. And I used the questions, the standard questions, and to ask her some details. And I keep asking her that, is there anything you think I need to know? How can I help you? And is there any other thing you would like to tell me? And I thought I behaved horrible in the assessment, but when I see marks, I scored high in the skills. So I think it's really helpful, and I don't think anyone can get the skills without the mock. I don't think so.
What about
Yeah.
written mocks? Because in an oral mock, you interact with the client if it's an interview, with another solicitor if it's an advocacy session. What about written mocks, where you don't see your interlocutor, you don't see the other side, the other party? How was that helpful to you?
You have feedbacks in every mock, and those feedbacks are really helpful. Your mock is a little bit difficult than the actual assessment.
Oh,
I
really?
think
So
so.
you find the actual
Yeah,
assessment easier compared to ours?
easier. Yeah,
But
yeah,
maybe that's
and
because you didn't know what to expect when you were doing those mocks with
yeah,
us, with
I
OSCEsmart.
think so.
But once
Yeah.
you came to the SQE2, you already knew what to expect. So this element of surprise was no longer there.
I remember that when I was doing the case and analysis in civil law, there are something that I think it's like not obvious, and I do not need to I do not need to write that down in the answer because I think it's not relevant, and or I used like some other expression in my own words to write that down in my answer. And then I got the feedback from Olga. She told me that you put anything relevant down in the answer to demonstrate that you know the law. And then you use the exact same words of the quoted in the law. Do not use your own words. If you use your own words in the answer, you may not score because they may think that you do not understand this legal point. So I think this really helped me in written assessment because I put anything relevant down in the written assessment and I used the same words of the quoted in the like CPR. So I
Mhm.
think this really helped me. If I do not book the written marks and if I do not know the skills, I may not get the score, I think.
Oh, that's very kind of you to
Yeah.
say so. Yes, but also considering how much effort you invested in your preparation, I think that you totally deserve, the good grade that you got, and also confidence which you took with you to the exam. Now, how about
Thank you.
your writing after the exam? Do you think that some of the skills that you have learned when when preparing with OSCEsmart, that they can be handy, can be helpful in your day-to-day professional practice? Or is this something that you don't think you need in your work?
When I was preparing for the assessment, I told myself that it does not matter even if you failed eventually because you already learned a lot, both in law and in skills. And I think that helped me in a very interesting point. I don't know whether any other candidates talked to you with that, um, because Chinese lawyers like to write write like very sophisticated letters or emails to the client to demonstrate that I'm skillful and I know that the best. But
Mhm.
from the client's perspective, they do not understand that at all. So when I was preparing for the assessment, I learned that you do not use those legal jargon with the client. You say something that everyone understands. This will help you to help the client better. So I use that in my daily work. And I told my team, told my lawyers that you say things the client would understand. You do not need to pretend to be sophisticated to demonstrate that you're skillful. If you can help the client, then you're a good lawyer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a good, yes,
yeah,
takeaway from all the preparation. And I think
yeah,
that this, fancy style of expressing yourself, of advising the client, is a very strong tradition in all the languages and all the cultures. But this
yeah,
recent tendency in English, which is called plain English, calls
yeah,
for shifting the focus from kind of, showing your authority,
yeah,
and sometimes wasting the client's time, to being helpful to the client and expressing thoughts clearly and in a way
yeah,
that would be understandable to the client of the given background. Good.
yeah.
How about, if I can bring you back to the SQE, Annie, were there any particular surprises in the exam or maybe in the results when you saw the results, the breakdown of your marks? Were there any memorable moments, anything that you were surprised with?
For the criminal drafting, I thought I prepared well and I've like written down anything I know. But I scored really, not really low, but I scored low in the
Lower than you
criminal drafting.
expected.
Yeah, I don't know why, but then I think it does not matter if you scored not well in like one assessment, because there are like several of them. You need to, your average score passed, then you pass the assessment. So do not be frustrated if you do not behave well in one assessment.
Yeah, I'm sure that the
Yeah.
audience watching this video is going to appreciate this, that you want to score, to do your best in each assessment. Yes, you're quite right. But if that
Yeah.
doesn't work for some reason, never mind and don't give up.
And one of my friend, he took the May assessment in last year, and he doesn't know how to use the system in the written assessment. I think for the case and analysis in civil law, and he did not finish that one. That night, he sent me text messages that he wanted to give up because he think that he did not finish the assessment. He still took all the assessment, and after, I think it was in August last year when he got the result that he still passed. I really need to tell all the candidates that if you do not behave well in one or two assessments, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It really does not matter.
Do you think that doing all those mocks was something that you needed to do, or do you think you could have done just a couple of mocks, maybe one mock, and just call it a day? Do you think that it was helpful to have many of them?
If I started to prepare the exam now, yeah, I would book as many mocks as possible.
How about timing? Because I remember that you were doing most of your mocks were this very close to the exam time. If you were doing it
Yeah.
again, do you think that you would do the same? Was it helpful, or what do you think about timing?
If I will do this again, I think I will book the mocks like 2 months in advance. I think I booked all the mocks in just 1 month. Yeah, because at that time, what I was thinking is that if I do not know the law well, and then I book the mock, I will waste the mock because I don't know how to answer the questions. I would like to tell the candidates that I don't know whether this was right. You do not need to push yourself to finish the assessment in the time. You just try your best because this is not the real assessment. So I think you finish that, you did that, and you get the feedback. This is the most important. It's not important whether you finish that in 50 minutes or 1.5 hours, because you just like one or two chances for the mock. Maybe you do not need to like prepare really well. You think you know the law really well, then you book the mock. You can do that at the same time because the skills, the feedbacks will also help you to prepare for the assessment.
Yeah, it totally reflects the approach that OSCEsmart applies to preparing candidates for the SQE2, because we consider that these practical mocks are not only helpful in terms of skills, but also in terms of deepening your knowledge, but also responding to the feedback and analyzing the feedback that you receive in
Yeah.
each of the mocks, right? Also serves
Yeah.
to guide you.
Yeah, I think so. Because when I finish all the mocks and I read those mocks and the feedbacks like 2 to 3 times, I still read that 2 to 3 times. And every time I was reading those feedbacks, and I was thinking, why did not do this earlier? So I think if I start this again, I think I will use like 4 months to prepare for SQE2, and the first 2 months I will use that to read the books and the notes, and the last 2 months I will use that to do the mocks and practice.
Do you think that that you had an advantage over other candidates who took the exam together with you? Do you know any other perhaps lawyers from China who were taking this exam with you and who were not as successful as you were?
Actually, I know a lot of lawyers who are preparing for the assessment, and who planned to prepare for the assessment, but I only know 5 who really passed the assessment. Yeah, because the daily works for the lawyers are already stressful, and you need to take a lot of time to prepare for this assessment because it was so different and so difficult, and it was not the same in any aspect like the daily works we do.
It's really hard work, and that's why we really admire Annie, your effort and your dedication and your success, and we are very happy. So I hope that all those colleagues and friends of yours who are planning to take the exam, we hope to see all of them here at
Sure.
OSCEsmart, and we'll do our best for them as well.
Passing SQE2 was absolutely critical for me. Smart's hand holding allowed me to approach the exam with confidence and get the result I needed.
Well, we are very happy. Thank you that you did get the
Thank you, Ari.
results that you needed. That's it. Thank you once again. And to everyone watching us, good luck to you in the SQE.